Hi, James. It's so nice to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
Happy to see you. Thank you.
Beautiful. And thank you so very much for your patience and understanding. Like I said earlier, it means a whole lot to me. Thank you so very much, man. Okay,
Okay.
James, I am excited to have you on the show for some reasons, all right? Firstly, my interest in knowledge, because I believe in order for one to leave a terrible situation into a beautiful situation, it takes the application of knowledge. So,
Right.
and secondly, second reason why I'm excited to have you on the show is for the sake of the listeners, because I believe there are some things that Jim knows that some of my audience needs to hear you say this stuff, directly from your mouth, in order to experience transformation. I firmly believe that. And thirdly, that is me. I believe I'm definitely going to learn from your story, your insight, your experiences. So for that reason,
Right.
Jim, I want us to get started with your introduction, and your journey, how the journey has been so far, the challenges that you faced and how you overcame them. Then
Okay.
afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Jim,
Okay.
over to you.
Okay. So let me introduce myself to your viewers. I am the discoverer of hitherto unknown natural phenomena, which greatly aid in the understanding of people, from which I created a revolutionary practical philosophic system called Septemics and published it in the book Septemics Hierarchies of Human Phenomena. Septemics is a philosophical science based on the fact that many phenomena related to human beings occur in a sequence of 7 levels. Literally, the word septemics means of or pertaining to 7. Septemic comprises a collection of scales or sequences, each of which breaks down various human phenomena into a hierarchy of 7 steps. So this is comparable to you put white light through a prism and you get 7 colors. That's sort of what this is, except it's in a conceptual framework. There are 35 such scales, so I have been able to analyze 35 different categories of human phenomena in this way. Each of these is unique, and together they span the spectrum of human experience, by which I mean any problem, dilemma, situation, difficulty that any person has can successfully be analyzed by one or more of these scales, usually more than one. So that tells you sort of what septemics is. Let me tell you in a general way how it's beneficial without going into the specifics. I wrote this book to help people. I've had a lifetime of helping people. Each of these 35 scales provides the user with an infallible way of determining the salutariness or beneficialness of any group, individual, or activity. If the group, individual, or activity moves persons up these scales, it's beneficial or positive. If it moves them down, it's detrimental or negative. So I'm giving you essentially a yardstick by which to measure human phenomena, which is an entirely new thing. More importantly, just finding out what level you or any other person is at on any one of these scales is by itself enlightening and beneficial. Every time you correctly spot someone, whether it's yourself or another, on any one of these scales, you have a realization. You say, oh, now I understand why my parents can't get along. Or, oh, now I see what's wrong with Joe. He's at level 6 on this scale, which is near the bottom. So that's one of the ways that you know you found the right level. You have a realization. So this is a fruitful source of insight for everyone who uses it. And finally, once you know the actual level of any person on any scale, you can improve that person by moving them up one level. This is important because I have solved the gradient problem that has bedeviled mankind for 6,000 years. Now, let me tell you what I mean. Most people have a problem, a situation, a dilemma, they don't know how to fix it. And the reason they don't know how to fix it is because they don't know the gradient. Every good coach, teacher, pastor, counselor in the world understands that human phenomena must be done on a gradient. So you can't make a couch potato into an Olympic athlete. That's impossible. First, you have to make him a normal person. Then maybe you could make him somebody who works out every day, you see? So there's many steps in between. So now, these 35 scales that I have discovered are the gradients for life. So each one of these scales is a roadmap for success because it enables you to find out where you are and what the next level up is. And if you focus on that next level, you will improve your situation. So think of it this way. You never can skip a level on any scale. That's impossible. I already know this. I've been working on this for decades. This is useful information because a person can only move to the adjacent level. So therefore, when you find the correct level, you know what to target. You know the next level up. Now, if you're at level 4 and you make a serious attempt, you will be able to get to level 3. But if you try to get to level 1 or 2, you will fail because it's too steep a gradient. Now, after you get to level 3, then you can target yourself to level 2. Now, how long it takes, what you have to do, how much work is involved, this is a wild variable, which varies from person to person and moment to moment, situation to situation. But still, I'm telling you, these are the gradients for success. Now, what I'd like to do now is tell you the names of the 35 scales, because then you know exactly what matter is addressed in my book. May I do that?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, so there are 24 individual scales, meaning they apply primarily to an individual. The individual scales are the scale of basic purposes, the scale of personal influence, the scale of choice, the scale of permeation, the scale of thought, the scale of identity, the scale of evaluation, the scale of motivation, the scale of control, the scale of stopping, the scale of scholarship, the scale of literacy, the scale of human ability, the scale of memory, the scale of spiritual identity, the scale of mental deletion, the scale of aberration, the scale of physical fitness, the scale of justification, the scale of belief, the scale of equanimity, the scale of attack, the scale of conflict, and the scale of reaction. And these are the group scales, meaning they apply primarily to a group. The scale of relationships, the scale of life spheres, the scale of government, the scale of civilization, the scale of survival, the scale of management, the scale of exchange, the scale of communication, the scale of allegiance, the scale of sexuality, and the scale of politics. Any one of these scales by itself could dramatically improve the life of the user. And let me give you an example of how to do that. I mentioned the scale of motivation. There are only 7 basic human motivations. All the other ones are subsets of these. So remember, you're only selecting from a group of 7. That's not hard to do. This is much easier than going to a restaurant where they have 200 things on the menu. Right? You only have to select from among 7, which helps. Now, let's say a guy is dating a girl for 2 years and they're talking about getting married. Wouldn't it be smart for this guy to know why this woman wants to marry him? I mean, isn't that a reasonable question, right? And she might have the same question, right? So you don't ask the person. You know this person. You've been going out with this person for 2 years. You look in the book and you look at the scale of motivation. You study the scale, right? And once you study the scale and you think about the person, you realize, I can see she wants to marry me because she loves me. That's level 1 on the scale of motivation, which is the highest motivation. Well, that's a good reason to marry somebody. But maybe after he studies this, he says, now that I think about it, I can see that she wants to marry me because I drive a Lamborghini. I fly my own Learjet. I have a 60-foot yacht. I live in a $15 million condo, and I have $10 million in the bank. See, that's a different motivation. That's level 4, money. I'm not saying it's good or bad. That's just what it is. Now, some guys will look at it and say, well, okay, she likes my money, but I love her, so I'm going to marry her anyway. Some other guys might say, you know what? I don't want to marry a gold digger. I want somebody who wants to marry me because she loves me. See, this is very personal. There's no right or wrong. It depends on what the person wants to do with his life. Now, did you ever notice how many ugly old men are married to beautiful young women?
Right.
How does
I
that
tell
work?
you. Yeah.
I see some guy, he's like, got gray hair, he's 60, he's 50 pounds overweight. He's got this beautiful woman on his arm, a young woman. How does this work? I'll tell you how it works. The 23-year-old beauty queen gets a Corvette, a diamond ring, a pearl necklace, a mink coat, and a credit card. So she's happy. The guy gets a 23-year-old beauty queen for a wife. So he's happy. That's how that happens. See? So to him, it might be fine that she's a gold digger. He doesn't care. So she comes to him and says, honey, I want to go to Vegas for the weekend. He says, okay, here's $5,000. Have a good time. So when she comes back, she's happy and she's grateful, which is good for him. You see? So this is very personal, and all of the scales are like this. This is not about judgment. It's about seeing what's there, analyzing it, seeing what's there. And let me tell you what I mean by analyzing it. If you were to invite me to your home to see your garden, I don't even know if you have a home or a garden, but if you did, I would come over because I like gardens. And I would go in your garden and I would say, oh, he has hydrangeas, he has tulips, he has chrysanthemums, he has roses, he has peonies, he has irises. Now, the reason I can do that is I know all about flowers. I'm into gardening. So you could bring, let's say, a 5-year-old kid into your garden, right? He's going to see and smell exactly what I see and smell. But all he's going to say is, these are pretty and they smell nice. That's all he knows, right? Which is what you expect from a 5-year-old. Now, most people are like that kid as regards humans. They don't know what they're looking at. That's why we elect idiots to run our governments. That's why more than 50% of the people in the United States are not married. And of the ones that are married, more than 50% of them get divorced. They obviously made a wrong choice. Now, if they had this book, that probably wouldn't happen. So, for example, I met a woman a couple of months ago, right? I'm a single guy. Gorgeous blonde. She could have been an actress, okay? So now we're interacting. She was very interested in me and vice versa. So, what do you do for a living? What town do you live in? Blah, 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 right? So as we're doing this, I came to see that she's at a low level on this scale. 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 And after a while, I said, what am I, crazy? Do I really want to get involved with a person who's at or near the bottom of a bunch of scales? No, I don't. I know better than that. So I dismissed her. She was shocked. I was probably the first guy in her life who said, no thanks, honey, because she was so beautiful. She probably has guys running after her 7 days a week, right? So she said to me, who do you think you are? Well, I did not say to her, I'm the guy who knows Septemics, because she wouldn't have known what I was talking about anyway. But the point is, I didn't make that mistake because I know this material. I do that continuously. It's as easy for me to use this material as it is for me to drink water, okay? It takes a little bit of attention and action to drink water. That's how hard this is for me to use because I've been living with it. So now, Let me explain how I found all of this, because that really explains a lot. The story starts at age 16 when I was accepted into engineering school. Now, at the time, I thought I was going to be engineering physical things like airfoils or motors or electrons. But by the time I had my bachelor's degree, I realized I wanted to engineer the human psyche, because it is the area of greatest mystery, of greatest unknown, and more importantly, it is the area in which we as a race are failing miserably. 95% of the problems in industrialized society are because people don't understand people, don't understand the wife, don't understand the boyfriend, don't understand the father, don't understand the mother, don't understand the boss, right? And this book solves that problem across 35 axes. So you have 35 different ways to analyze a person and see what they're about. So, to make a long story short, I had a long career as a human development engineer, working one-on-one with hundreds of clients of every description. They all got better as a result of our interaction. But I started to notice, incidentally, that I could predict the outcome of the session. Now, I never told this to anyone for many decades, but I made notes. So I would see some phenomenon in the session, see, and I would predict it was going to go someplace, and it would. And realize the client knew nothing about this. All he knew was that he was talking to me about his situation. That's all he knew. So I would write this down. Now, as the decades rolled by, I came to realize that the client was at a specific level on a specific scale that I had previously observed, and as a result of our interaction, he would go to the next highest level. That happened right in front of my face thousands and thousands of times. And each time it did, it verified my hypothesis. So this was the scientific method at work, because the person knew nothing about any of this. So by about 1995, I had about 32 scales of varying lengths that I knew were correct because I observed them. There's no theory of septemics. This is all based on empirical observation. So in 95 also, one day I was pondering a difficult client, and I realized that that client was at a level on a particular scale that I had not previously observed. I had a 6-level scale that I knew was correct, but I realized one day, it has a 7th level. I hadn't seen that before. Now, as soon as I saw this level, I knew where to insert it. That was obvious. So I inserted the 7th level into the 6th level scale, and it immediately manifested mathematically. And it went from being a scale, which is a line, to a plane, which is a whole body of data, without my trying to get it. In other words, all of this data jumped out at me. All of these mathematical correlations that were within this scale presented themselves to me. And I said, whoa, I think I found something. Whatever this is, it has to be natural law, because anything that has mathematics embedded in it is natural law. Like, for example, the Fibonacci sequence. So I said, I wonder how many of these other scales are actually 7-level scales that had not been developed all the way, because you have to realize I wasn't developing anything. I was just helping my clients and making notes. So knowing what I was looking for, I then studied these other scales. And each of them, in a short period of time, went to 7 levels. And when it did, it manifested mathematically. So now I had 32 7-level scales that all had mathematics embedded in them. I said, whoa, I think I found a new subject. And my next thought was, this could really help people. Because if this is natural phenomena, everybody's going to get it. It's like when you look at the Pythagorean theorem or the periodic table of elements or Newton's 3 laws of motion. You get it. It's not hard to get because it's natural law. So I thought, If I were to put this in a book and get it out, I could go from helping people by the hundreds, which is what I had been doing as a human development engineer, to helping people by the millions, because they could look at this material and help themselves. So I'm going to have to write a book. Not particularly what I wanted to do. So the first draft of the book was finished in December of 95, and I sent it to colleagues of mine, all of whom had graduate degrees in a variety of subjects. And they all responded very positively. They had different responses, but distinctly positive responses. No one who has ever looked at this has ever said anything like, I don't get this, this doesn't make any sense, or anything like that. People get this. They look at it and they say, yes, I get it. So then I thought, well, this verified what I already believed, which is that I have found a new subject that could really help people. And I spent the next 25 years writing the book. Because you have to realize, first I had to discover the phenomena. And I kind of already told you how I did that, although I did find 3 more scales as I was writing the book. Then I had to take this data and I had to use it to construct a workable philosophic system. That took 20 years. You have to realize, as an engineer, I'm only interested in results and facts. I'm not impressed by opinions or beliefs. They have no place in engineering. So this had to work every time for every person. That's a high standard. Now you have to realize the product of a scientist is a theory, like the theory of evolution or the theory of relativity. The product of an engineer is something that works, like a cell phone or a refrigerator or a car or an air conditioner or an airplane. It has to work. And it can't only work sometimes. So it took 20 years to construct this into something that I saw worked all the time for everybody. Then you have to realize the most time-consuming aspect of this was expressing it in a way that would make sense to the average reader of English. And I know I succeeded at that because some version of this book has existed for 28 and a half years, and I've been watching people get this. People get the book and they say, oh, yeah, this is cool, I get this. They get it right away. It's not hard. So I know I succeeded in expressing this in a way that makes sense to people. So that's the story of Septemics. I invite your viewers to my website, which is septemics.com, Septemics, where you can see what many readers have said, what many journalists have written, what the reviews are, what you can read sections of the book itself. There's a 15-minute recording of Introduction to Septemics for a new person, or if you prefer to read, there's an essay called Achieve Your Goals Faster and Easier with Septemics, and you can read it. So I invite your viewers to my website, check it out, find out if this makes sense to you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Jim, that was a great discovery, I tell you. That was a fantastic one. And the fact that it is helping diverse people, that means a whole lot, I tell you. Getting to help people make informed decision and not fall into some sort of troubles and all of that.
Right. Okay. Well, the website is septemics.com, Septemics.com. And what I would like to say in closing is just one sentence that would focus all of this. The data in this book are vital for every person and can help you to achieve your goals faster and easier by explaining what might otherwise seem to be inexplicable or random. This is filled with data that's going to explain things to you that you did not understand. Oh, now I understand why Gertrude acts like that. It's right here. So that's my closing sentiment. Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you.